A very good morning, dear children. I, Seema Sharma, your English teacher, welcome you to my lecture on chapter 3 of Reader, the story of Akash. Now, what is Akash? In Hindi, we call the sky Akash, and in this particular story, there is an element related with the sky. In this story, Ramu is the main character and he will explore a few things about nature. He will go on an adventurous trip on the forest, as well as he will also learn about what is an eclipse. I'll be sharing pictures related to eclipse before I start my explanation. I hope it becomes useful for you. And let's explore what is there in the chapter.
A very good morning, dear children. Welcome back to the explanation of the story of Akash, lesson 3 of your reader book. Like I had shared that I will be sharing certain pictures with you related to the scientific fact that is being discussed in the story. So we will be learning about an eclipse in the story. What do you understand by the word eclipse? See, we all know that moon rotates around the earth and the earth rotates around the sun. So sometimes what happens when the moon and the earth are rotating, sun, moon and earth, they come in a straight line. Just like you can see in the diagram, the sun is there in the center, moon is there, and then the earth is there. So when the moon is in the center, the sunlight is falling on the moon and that particular area is causing a reflection to fall on the earth. So that is referred as the total solar eclipse. Similarly, what happens, sometimes earth comes between the sun and the moon. So that time what is happening, the shadow of the earth is falling on the moon, and that we refer as the lunar eclipse. So this diagram I have shown so that when during reading of the story you will be able to understand when we talk about the eclipse. It happens when what happens, earth, sun and moon, they come in a straight line. So these diagrams are just to help you out with the same. Now we will be starting with the reading of the lesson, the story of Akash. Rambhadra Narayan Murthy. This is the name of a boy who's referred as Ramu. I remember him as Ramu, which was what everybody called him. So the nickname of Rambhadra Narayan Murthy is Ramu. He lived in a small village near the foot of a mountain. His home was a mud hut with a thatched roof. He had helped his family build it. So the boy Ramu, he was living in a hut, and thatched roof means he was living in a hut. It was not a cemented house, it was a house made up of straws and bamboo sticks. And thatched roof means a roof which is made up of dried leaves and these particles like bamboos, and it is not a cemented roof. He had helped his family build it. So we come to know that Ramu had even helped in the construction of that particular house. And Ramu was a very simple person. He used to wear a cotton dhoti and a simple jacket. He herded and milked his father's cow and collected firewood. So by reading the sentence we come to know that Ramu used to do a lot of work, and he used to help his father with the cattle, that is the cows, and he was also chopping the wood for the firewood. He was a playful boy who loved to climb trees and play in the expansive green fields. He relished the hot gruel his mother cooked for him on a simmering coal fire. So what is a simmering coal fire? See children, when your mother is boiling milk, you must have noticed that generally she reduces the flame of the gas, and so that the milk doesn't overflow. So that is referred as simming the gas. So simmering coal fire means a very low fire. And what is gruel? Gruel refers to a meal made up of oats. This meal can be cooked by either boiling the oats in the milk or maybe boiling them in the water. One day Ramu's father sent him on an errand he was to go to the next village to bring some medicines from the doctor for his sick granny and get back as soon as he could. So, one task was given to Ramu by his father. Errand means work. So, what work did Ramu's father give him? He told him that he should go to bring medicine for his grandmother because grandmother was not well. So, there was no doctor in his own village and he had to go to some other village to bring the medicine for his grandmother. Remember Ramu, his father said, "You must return home right after the job is done. No dilly-dallying. There is a solar eclipse today and you must not be outside under any circumstance. Go fast." So his father is also giving him a warning that he should not waste time. He should be very quick in the work which is assigned to him. And two reasons are there. Firstly, the grandmother is ill, so the medicines are required urgently. Second thing is that there is a solar eclipse. So because of the solar eclipse, what will happen? It will become dark because the shadow of the moon will be falling on the earth and it will become dark. Ramu interrupted his father with a child's curiosity. "Why is it dangerous, father? During an eclipse, the rays reaching the earth are harmful as the sun is not so strong. One is tempted to look at it directly, which can result in losing your eyesight. So I want you indoors well before noon when the eclipse can be sighted. Run as fast as your legs can carry you. I must finish my work in the field by then too," said Ramu's father, patting him on his shoulder. So now Ramu is becoming very curious. That means he is having a question in his mind and he wants to ask his father that if it is a solar eclipse, then what is the concern? Why should he be coming home early? So the father explains him that the sun rays that day are not very healthy to look at. That day you should not be staring at the sun. And he's wanting that this particular child, he should be back before the eclipse so that the bad rays of the sun or the unhealthy rays of the sun don't affect him. And the father is saying that even I will try to complete my work timely and reach back home. Then what happens? Filled with a sense of importance and urgency, Ramu walked to the nearby village and reached there in less than an hour. So Ramu was very obedient and he walked very fast and he reached the village from where he had to take the medicine. There he went straight to the Vaidya and described his granny's condition. The wizened old man nodded as if he had not heard it at all before. He prepared the special medicine he always made for the frail granny's consent and awful toothache. So what happens? Who is a Vaid? Like we use the word doctor. So in the villages, a person who is not exactly having a degree, but he is having knowledge of medicinal things, so that person is referred as a Vaid. So he goes to the Vaid and he's telling him that what is the condition of his grandmother, what is aching, how is she feeling, all those things he's sharing. And that time what happens? That the old person, he is listening to him and he starts preparing for the special medicine for that frail granny. Frail granny means the old lady, the old grandmother who is very sick and she is having an awful toothache. That means her teeth is aching very badly. The problem was he went off to search for the herbs in the jungle nearby and did not return for an hour and a half. So what happens? The medicine which the Vaidya has to prepare, he is preparing it with some herbs. Herbs are small little plants that have medicinal value. So he is going to get those herbs, and after getting those herbs, what does he has to do? He has to grind them. He has to make medicine out of it. So what is he doing? He takes a lot of time in this entire process. Firstly, he is searching for the herbs, then he is coming back, then he is taking some around 15 minutes in grinding those green herbs, and then after he has finished, Ramu gave him the bag of grains which his father had sent as a payment and shot off as fast as his legs could carry him. So that time what happens? What is he paying to the Ved? The Ved is giving him the medicine. In return, he is giving him grains. Earlier, barter system used to be followed. Barter system means that time money everyone was not having. Everyone was not very rich. So people, whatever things they had, they used to exchange them in for other things. Say for example, I am growing crops, and you are maybe making jewelry. So if I want to buy jewelry, I will be giving you a huge quantity of grains, and in exchange you will give me jewelry. Similarly, if suppose I have to buy vegetables, and you are growing vegetables and I am growing grains, so I will give you some grains, in exchange you will give me the vegetables. So that time things were exchanged. So in exchange of the medicine, the Ramu has given grains to the Ved. No matter how fast he ran, he could not keep up with time, which was now close to noon. Suddenly he realized that he was being followed. This particular stretch of the mud path was lonely, and he knew there were robbers roaming in search of the passers-by. Would they take away the silver anklet I am wearing? He thought. Menacing footsteps echoed from the behind, and poor Ramu was petrified. He hurriedly crouched behind a thick bush and hoped his heart was not beating too loud. Then he looked up at me. So Mir is referred to Akash, and prayed hard for a miracle. Well, though he had not realized it, the eclipse was almost total by then, and the whole world was growing dark at noon. Ramu had the miracle he wanted. So now what happened to Ramu? When Ramu was taking the medicines back home, what happened? He had to cross the forest, and in those days lot of robbers were operational. So when he heard some noise in the forest, he felt that somebody is following him, and he was very sure it must be the robbers. And what is an anklet? If you see, observe the picture of this boy, in his leg he is wearing something. This round thing is made up of silver, and it is referred as the anklet. So he is thinking that probably because I am wearing a silver anklet, the thief must be wanting to take this from me. After that, what is he doing? He tries to hide himself. So in the forest there are many trees and bushes, and he hides amongst the bushes, and his heart has started beating very very fast, because he is feeling scared. And that time he is looking up at the sky, and generally when we look up at the sky, we always try to remember God. We imagine that God also stays in heaven, which is above us in the sky. So he's praying in his heart that please do some miracle, please do something unexpected, so that I am saved. And at that moment what happens? Like the father had warned to Ramu that today solar eclipse is there, so it will become very dark. So exactly at that moment what happens? It becomes dark because of the solar eclipse. I watched with pride the replay of the beautiful drama that had happened many times before. The moon which rotates around the earth, and the earth that rotates around the sun fall in line with the sun. So the picture which I had shared with you all children in the very beginning of this video, you must have seen how these three come into the same line. So in this portion, the solar eclipse is being described. The shadow of the moon is covered the sun, and the earth turned dark because the sun rays were cut off. Now earth receives light because of the sun. It is because of the light of the sun that we have morning, and when the rays of the sun is not falling on the portion of the earth, then we have night. But during the day also, because the moon has come in between the sun and the earth, the shadow of the moon is falling on us. The moon is blocking the sunlight. It is not allowing the sunlight to reach the earth. Because of that, it became very dark. And now because it is very dark, so it is very convenient for Ramu to hide also, as well as there are chances that these robbers will not be able to see him. So next, what happens? Ramu was too scared to even look up at the sky. He heard the robbers right next to him as he peered from the corner of his eyes. Oh dear, he thought, the sky has become dark. This must be the eclipse. So that time, the moment the sky becomes dark, so Ramu remembers his father's word, and he realizes that the solar eclipse is taking place. He shut his eyes tight as he heard the robbers stumble away. So the father had warned Ramu that the rays of the sun are very unhealthy during a solar eclipse. So we should not be looking at the rays of the sun. So that is why this obedient child closed his eyes and he hears the mumbling. That means a very, very soft voice of the people who are following him. He can understand and hear, and he is able to make out that even these people are very confused and nervous. They are scared. Now Ramu's heart beat with joy. The robbers were gone and the eclipse was over as well. Ramu felt amazed. After what he looked like a slice of the night, it was back to daylight again. How could this be, he wondered. So for Ramu also things were very magical to see the solar eclipse. All of a sudden it was morning and all of a sudden it was daylight and then it has become dark. But this dark situation has helped him to save himself from the robbers because the robbers have gone away. With his head full of questions, Ramu raced back home to his worried parents. If only he could have seen the pale moon moving away from the sun, he would have known the eclipse was ending and it would not be seen again for a long time. So it happens that the eclipse takes place, it doesn't take place quite regularly. It takes some time. During an year, maybe once or twice, or maybe we might not even have a solar eclipse. There's a possibility once or twice we might have it. So it is not that every month we are having the solar eclipse, or very quickly the sun, moon and earth are coming in a straight line. So that time when the solar eclipse was over, by then he had also reached home, and his parents were obviously worried because they know that Ramu is a obedient child. He generally follows the instructions and should have been back before the solar eclipse, but still they are happy. At least Ramu has come safely home and he's also brought the medicine for the grandmother. That night Ramu lay on a charpai in his open courtyard. He gazed at the countless stars that sparkled in the inky black sky, and then he talked to me. It was a one-sided conversation because I could not reply. So what happened at night when Ramu was sleeping, you can even see in the picture that Ramu is sleeping on a bed. This kind of a bed is referred as charpai, and it is used generally in the villages. And when he is sleeping in the open, he is looking at the sky, and when he is looking at the sky, so he is having many questions in his mind. And what are the questions he is having in his mind? This particular boy Ramu, it seems he is talking to himself because nobody is there to reply to him. Anyhow, that is what he said. I wonder what is up there, so far away, so many stars, the moon, the sun and the sky. How would they look from a close distance? Someday I want to go up and find out. So when Ramu is looking at the sky, he starts thinking that the stars are shining so nicely, moon can also be seen in the sky, even the sun is there. He finds these things very interesting and he is quite curious, and he imagines what kind of an experience it would be if he would be able to see these things. Now what happens, although for Ramu who is staying in a village, it is very hard to imagine about the development of technology would take place in the years to come, but yes, it is a fact that human being has developed so much that even human being has reached the moon. We have reached the space. We are having placed in many artificial satellites as well. So it is little children like Ramu that their very big dreams that are so special about Mother Earth. Many years later, man actually walked on the moon. Now gadgets which the human call satellites whiz by me. So in the sky we can see the satellites. In this lesson, me is being referred to the sky, that is Akash. They have telescopes, cameras, computers and sometimes even humans on them. They try very hard to understand everything about me. They know that I am infinite. I have no beginning and no end. So the sky is talking. The sky is telling us that it is having so many things inside it and it is so huge, and that human being has actually reached space. And because of people who have these kind of dreams like Ramu to see the moon and to reach the sky, so because of them it has been possible. I have no beginning and no end. I know humans will keep discovering more and more about me. I am waiting and watching for every such discovery. That too will make some another nice story. So what is Akash saying out here? What is the sky thinking? The sky is telling that my discovery, people are still working so that things can be discovered, and maybe like this story which we have talked about, Ramu, there might be a story about someone else also who might be interested in the space, so some new stories can be told to you. I hope you have understood the lecture and this lesson is very much clear to you. Just in case if you have any doubts, I am there in your online classes to clarify them. Please feel free to contact and ask all your questions. God bless you all, dear students.